So good morning everyone, welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Calm your mind. Forget about everything. Nothing is important enough to allow movement of the mind. Stay silent. Okay, so just reminding everyone, we use WhatsApp as a means of communication. You can send your questions to the number that appears on the comments. Well, today we're going to talk about purification of the mind. Well, there are those that apply the logic in their practice that, well, I'm not the body, not the mind, so why should I sit and meditate? Because that is for the body and the mind. Well, to embrace that vision, that concept, you have to go further than that. So if you're not the body, not the mind, so why are thoughts there? Why are you feeding the thoughts? Why are you putting food in that body? So stop wasting time and food and all those things that you put in your body. You're not the body, so why bother feeding it? Not that it is incorrect. The thing is, it's not your experience yet. That concept is the north. It is something which points to the real nature of who you are, apart from what you appear or who you appear to be. That is the thing, and it's something to live by, for sure. But as a lot of things are still being maintained as a must in your life, like eating, for example, and so many other things, then meditation and purification of the mind has to be there. Because, well, if you're not awake, if you haven't awakened yet, that means your mind is full of impurities. Impurities in Raja Yoga means restlessness in the mind, anger, hate, attachment, desires, all these things. And these desires, these impurities, they set the path to create thought patterns. They are mental seeds at the essence, and they create thought patterns that will give rise to investments, to actions, and will eat up your time, will distract you for sure. That's their purpose. So despite all work which is done spiritually speaking, there's a difficulty in real growth. Sorry. Well, in the beginning, usually it's more vivid. The changes, a little bit of growth, but as you go on, if you're not really paying a lot of attention, or if it's not possible, you will eventually find yourself frustrated because despite so many investments in spiritual practices, in meditation, and so on, you don't see much of a change. Changes will be there, but at the core, you will recognize more or less the same things. Someone is saying that there's no sound here. Anyone else? Instagram, tá sem som? Ah. Well, okay. So there's sound in Instagram. It seems that it's just you. And, well, people get surprised by this. That despite their investments, their time applied to spiritual practices, things don't evolve much, or at least it's not recognized. There's always some gain in spiritual practice. There's never no gain, but it can be mitigated a lot by the rest of the time that you have. And I see this many times. A separation being made between what's spiritual practice, what's aspiration, and then what is actual behavior in the rest of the time. And how much these tendencies, these mental tendencies, continue to operate. Sometimes it's not for the sake of activity itself, not for the sake of external investments, gains of some sort. It's just an exercise of vibration, of a certain vibration that is still a part of that world, just to maintain its balance. And that is enough, so that you don't go deep enough. So the biggest part, if not all part, of spiritual practice is purification of the mind. The naiveness say, well, I'm a good person, I want very good things, and I want to do good to everyone, I want to serve humanity. This is usually at the heart of a seeker of truth. But despite all of that, there is evil, there is the exercise of evil in some sort, either towards others in the form of aggression, in the form of judgment, or especially to yourself, the same. And this is a low vibration. It keeps a low vibration. And understand that for everything that you experience, what matters is vibration. Certain levels of thoughts, they cannot subside in a specific vibration. Thoughts of purity, of devotion, of selflessness, they do not sustain in a low vibration, in a dense vibration. Fear does, aggression, it is different, and this operates in a low vibration. So the exercise of these things, jealousy, hate, attachments, all the list is very big. All this, just by the exercise in your mind alone, feeds the mind with this low vibration. And as this low vibration is still there, it doesn't allow for any other vision. You will have just peaks of selflessness, devotion, even of blessings, of touching these higher frequencies. You will have peaks, and then you will go back down to that place. That place means your place. And your place is just your place. It's not about others, it's you, just you. And whatever you experience as reality, that is your illusion. It doesn't matter if it's a more soft illusion, a more hard illusion. For me, the harder the better, because, well, it gives much more opportunities. But it doesn't matter, it is yours. And you have to understand that you will do everything in your power to maintain your illusion with all it has what you call good and all that it has that you call bad. Especially the bad. You will do everything in your reach to preserve it. So purification of the mind is that which is more important. We could say that devotion is more important. We could, but we can't, because without purity of the mind, there's no pure devotion. So purity of the mind has to come first to allow for these higher experiences, higher realities slash still illusions, but higher to take place. And without these higher frequencies, without these higher vibration, it's much more difficult, practically impossible to have a separation from I and body-mind complex. This disidentification is not possible. There's always exceptions, rare ones, but usually for the majority, it's not possible. And then, the intensity of this purification happens as you focus, and you will see the more you are focused now, the more you envision, you have the clarity to see that there's still a lot of waste of time, that you can focus even more, and more, and then more, and more. Because the majority of things, they are out of the reach of your scope. The more you focus, the better you will use your time, because having the concepts is a beginning, but then you have to put it in practice. And the majority of you just assume that all that part is done. But it's not. If you haven't awakened, impurities are there. The exercise of evil is there. And it is harming you and others and creating circumstance. It is maintaining you entangled. Entangled. Entertained / entangled. And entertained, sometimes it's not a word that gets understood. But sometimes entertain means in deep suffering. Hurting others, hurting yourself, especially yourself. And entertain doesn't give that message, but it is the word. Because ups and downs, good and bad, it's just entertainment. It keeps you distracted. Suffering, smiling, being happy, then suffering again. Everything just to go beyond this normalcy, this stillness. So impressions have to be made constantly. So those who pay attention, who have spent some time, a lot of time, observing themselves / observing these structures of the character's investments, the character's needs. And this is done by observing desires, attachments, fears, not by hiding them from your sight and from everyone's sight, but by observing them as they rise. They will know that it is very hard to transcend this. Very hard. That is the bad news. The good news is that it is possible. And for the seeker of truth, that is enough. And it will take a lot and a lot and a lot of focus, patience, endurance, goodness, harmlessness. Because, you see, when attention is not there, it is dispersed, loose. Then more or less you tend to observe more the outer structures of what you call your life. Let's call it the circumstances that are from the outer part of the body. And the more you focus, the more you are able to see things on that inner space of perception. And this is where observation becomes better and better. And you will see that these big cycles that take a long time, they are very fast on this inner space of perception. And this is the root. Everything else, all investments, outer investments, they are just to bring you these inner circumstances, inner experiences that repeat again and again and again and again and are basically the same at the core. And beyond all complexities, it is vibration related. Attachments are to vibration. And you will do everything you can to maintain the level of vibration that you are. And you have seen this many times. You try to modify behaviors to have more subtle behaviors, more sattvic behaviors, like meditation, your food, all these things. And eventually you see yourself doing this for some time, then going back again. Or for those who maintain the meditation, they find other strategies to still feed these structures. You just have to look attentively. So in Raja Yoga, for example, many philosophies, they speak about purification of the mind, like the yamas and niyamas. This is very important. It's a daily work that can only be done if you acknowledge that impurities are there. This is for the majority. For others, for a certain part, they have to acknowledge that impurities are there, but good is also there. And whatever they are feeding makes the difference, because it is mathematics. It's not subject to evaluation, to judgment. It's not. It's more like a game. This vibration allows transcendence, disidentification of identity from body-mind complex. Low vibration doesn't. So to work on this disidentification, some sort of purification must happen. And as you intensify your spiritual practices, your meditation, you will be exposed intensely to circumstances in your environment to give you an opportunity to maintain the same level of responses, of judgments, of attitudes, attachments, hates, aggressions, jealousies, or detach yourself from those structures. Using strategies to counter these structures, these mental structures, either by stopping the thoughts, either not allowing them, not wanting to have anything to do with them, or even creating investments, attitudes that go against these structures. For example, attachment, a lot of pain, a lot of things. Okay, so this is what you're attached to, throw it out. And the more you focus, the more you will see that you have many, where you didn't see none, you will see many protected areas. Many. Sorry. But focus is a hard thing to gain. This level of focus that I'm talking about. Because in this level of focus, 1 minute is a long time. 1 hour is a very long time. The perception of time changes. And it is subtle, it is powerful, and it is very hard to maintain. It suffocates even, depending on how you are. Because it is so powerful that all your restlessness and impurities, they cannot stand it. And as identification is still with these impurities, then you cannot stand it. And this becomes more visible when there's these intense meditation periods. It becomes very visible. So purification of the mind is the basis of any spiritual work. And the more intense it becomes, the subjects will come to you. This is what you need to focus now. You will see if you're going through a period where attachment reveals strong. So this is the subject which is on the table. And you should only stop with that when it is over. Not just one attachment, all attachments. And then something else will come to you. And again, and again, and again, and again, until nothing is there, not really, but until whatever is there doesn't disturb. Or else you will eventually find yourself frustrated again and again. And that is a good thing, because being frustrated will bring those negative emotions, negative thoughts towards yourself or others. And as these thoughts are entertained in your mind, you are maintaining the low vibration that keeps the balance of your world. And as you are in intense meditation, all the dirt that is there, all the impurities will arise, will become visible. It's like a window, like looking through a glass window. Whatever is passing in front of the window, you will see it. And in your mind, whatever passes there, or whatever emotions are going, you will see them. But if you detach from them, they will release. If you hold on to them, if you give them importance, if you take them for real, then they will become stronger. So when you cease the external exercise of aggression, for example, of negativity, then the mind will use the internal one to maintain itself. Like I've explained previously, the mind survives. It is its fundamental basic to survive and prosper if possible. If it's not prospering, it is surviving. When it is prospering, it's a lot of things, a lot of investments, a lot of ways to nurture the bricks that it uses to maintain the construct of its own reality. But when it is in the survival mode, it can survive just with a little bit. Just a few bricks are enough. From millions of bricks to just a few, half a dozen bricks, it survives. And this is a very extensive subject. Because it has a lot of things. And case by case, it differs. The strategies to maintain restlessness, to maintain the sources, the bricks of that vibration. But at the end, it's the same mechanism. Mechanism designed to survive. So whatever you are doing, if you're doing intense meditation, let's keep it simple, you have to understand that meditation is 24/7. And this formal meditation is to develop the meditation mood, the meditation attitude, where you do not allow these things to fluctuate in your mind. You keep it clean, steady, still. The stillness, how do you say, allows the purification process to unfold. But to keep it quiet for 3 hours, for example, in a meditation, sitting, and then go back to a normal mode where you allow your mind to go here and there. Well, of course, there are some gains in that meditation sitting of 3 hours. And if you'll do it through the years, you will see that many things will change, of course. But we're talking about freedom here, not about well-being, not about better circumstances. Suffering is everywhere. And if you have better circumstances, suffering will come in the same. Maybe not as intense as other times, but intense enough to keep you distracted. That's not the issue. Many seekers of truth still confuse themselves with freedom and well-being. And it's very difficult to really embrace the quest for freedom. Despite that it's what they want, in practical terms, that's not what they invest in. Some part because they don't know, but a very big part of what they don't know is because they don't want to know. One part is not wanting, the other part is not being able, because your mind will not allow you to see or to remember long enough that which threatens its reality. For sure, those of you who are trying, who are working, have seen that certain things that are important for you to remember, to work, they just poof, you cannot remember them anymore. You have listened to it, and after some time just disappears. Your mind is not allowing. But when there's focus, you're creating strategies to remember. Even if it is just writing in a piece of paper and putting in the place that you look all the time, or many times. There are strategies that need to be created. And the more the focus increases, the more you will see where the waste of time is. Without the focus or minimum focus, you will think that you are doing everything that you can and there's nothing else to improve, more or less. And the thing of time, it's another issue. Yoga says, well, liberation may take a lifetime or many lifetimes. And these words are for the seeker of truth only. Why? Because the seeker of truth is so thirsty. He wants so bad liberation that he gets anxious with it, frustrates a lot. So his mind becomes agitated with it. But there's no other way for him. He cannot aspire to anything else. That's what makes him a seeker of truth. And it is for him that these words bring the highest, because he has no more interest. He's not going back. So it is said, it may take a lifetime or even more, but no work is wasted. If you're working intense now, you haven't reached liberation, next life, you will take up from where you left and you will finish it. But this is just for the seeker of truth, because it brings some calmness to his mind. Sometimes it does, other times not really, but sometimes it does. There's always exceptions. Those who are really much more intensely thirsty. But still they will have to conquer this with this merciless vision of time, that it is very painful for a seeker of truth, because just imagining to be away from home so long is unbearable. But it is this vision that will help temper his energy and make his mind more stable. It's like having a rocket without a base to hold on the power so it cannot lift. But bringing this stable to the mind, then we have a base, a firm base, then the rocket can go through atmosphere. But to others, majority, and I hear this sentence many times, oh, this can take a lifetime or many lifetimes, so I'll just, well, enjoy a little bit here, do some extra here, there, and well. So these words for the seekers of well-being, they have the opposite effect. So understanding that it may take time, it doesn't matter, because it depends, let's say, it depends on your distance. Your distance is your distance alone. Nothing to compare with anyone. And when you finish your journey, it's finished, period. So the faster you walk, the sooner it will end, period. The more time you waste, the longer it will take, period. Liberation is the only thing to do here, period. All else is just wasting time, period. So the attitude is of intense urgency, and at the same time maintaining these urges without peaks, maintaining it high and stable. So what doesn't enable you to maintain this high enough in a stable way? The impurities, wrong motivations, wrong expectations. All of this is the impediment. Okay, I will answer your question now. So, trying to be silent, keeping the mantra, feeding and stop feeding judgments about anyone, not investing in conversations and being nice. Sometimes it comes in the mind that I'm not being kind with others, that I'm not being nice, and that's not good. What's the difference between kindness and being nice? Well, does a ghost Not any kind of, not the ghosts from the stories that disturb the living and haunt them, but the ghosts that don't appear to anyone. They are called ghosts for a reason, because they are not visible. They do not belong to this plane of existence. Well, that is a seeker of truth. So, not going to the social aspects of this, because not being nice, being indifferent, it's not the same thing. And not being nice and being rude, they are not the same. Being indifferent not necessarily means that of being rude. Or keeping your focus in your practice doesn't mean that you are being rude to others. It doesn't mean also that others will understand this way. Each one of the others will understand in its own way, in its own capabilities. Some will think it is rude, some will think it's not nice, some will not care, some will not see. It's like this. But in this concept, it is easy. One big door of satisfying desires, of feeding impurities, comes from interrelation, from relationship with others. And just a good morning, for example, can start a big conversation that has a huge impact. But it may not also. That depends on you. So from what I'm getting from here, it's that this is important. So, and as you are focusing on these aspects, the mind wants to open again the doors it had to go on its own business and feed the same structures, to maintain the suffering illusion. And as he's being deprived from this, there's an inner conversation to justify to go back to the same investments. And the mind is very good at this. And for seekers of truth, it uses wisdom. Wisdom, the highest wisdom, usually, that is at hand. Or the lowest, if that's the only thing available. If you cannot twist it enough to appear to be wise, then it will use the low. But it will use wisdom, of course. But that doesn't make it wise, because if it is to defend illusion, it's not wisdom. So as you are engaging in intense practices, doing your level best, chattering will come to convince you. And if you reject this long enough, anger will come. A lot of things will rise. But this all happens because there is still interest. This is why these concepts are very important. Because if interest is not there, good morning. Okay. So, how are you? Fine, thank you. And just come back to stillness. And by the lack of interaction, the other one will just give up, continue, and you can continue your practice. So there's many strategies to justify the investments that are the base of your illusion. For your illusion to maintain as it is, there's a balance which is needed. The bricks of it is vibration. All those inner conversations, but those who practice meditation, there's nothing to discuss. Understand this. There is no conversation which is needed. Just a practice. Just a technique of meditation. It has to replace everything. All the rest, apart from that, is just an excuse to go back to the same. This is how you must see it if you want to transcend it. But understand, the greatest good you can bring to this world is not interact with it. That will be one less. So like, if the world is a sheep and people are wolves that are eating the sheep, then one less wolf there, that will be good. And it doesn't matter if you justify and you think it is good and it has no problem and all of that. It doesn't matter. No one will be there to evaluate you. Only your blindness. Only not knowing really who you are, despite having so many concepts. That will be the judge in the end. Illusion survives on maintaining you impressed. The level of impression that is possible depends on the fabrics, on the bricks of vibration where you stand. Unlike the body is always changing its cells, transforming, always new, so does the mind. And depending on the nurturing you give them, that will improve your vision or make it worse. Make your mind more pure or less, more subtle or more dense. The majority of spiritual work is purification. Everybody can feel devotion sometime. Very few maintain it all the time. Okay, so for today that's it. Next satsang will be Saturday, 9 a.m. in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Until then, make the best use of your time. Watch.